Alright everybody, let me introduce the first book that we will be reading, or I guess trying to finish for this reading vlog. It's actually going to be Racing to the Finish. This is a Dale Jr. book, and it's more of like a nonfiction memoir, autobiography type book. It's more so about some of the symptoms he's had from concussions and before retirement, during retirement, and then a little bit after, how he's kind of overcame a couple things, and just more to get the word out there. And it's something that I bought my husband actually in 2018. I didn't know it was about that. I thought it was more just about racing in general and his dynamic on racing. It just pertained around NASCAR, but this is actually very interesting. I am about 100 pages into it, exactly 106 pages into it. It is around 180 pages. I want to say it's like 170 something, like high up there, but it's not very long. It's just because it's like a memoir. It's very slow for me to read. I think it takes like 5 minutes for 2 pages. It's terrible. I want to finish this before I hop into my next book. So let me sit here and kind of read a little bit, and I will update. For it not being what I thought it was going to be, I'm actually really enjoying it. I feel like because it's somebody I have an interest in, Dale Jr., everything with like cars and racing, and right now with him being friends with Cletus McFarland and other things, I feel like this book is just something that's just kind of interesting to me, and it is on my 25 books I want to read it in 2025. So that's one reason I wanted to tackle it, because it's been sitting on my shelf, like I said, since 2018. So let's go ahead and hop back into this book. Alright, I might look absolutely terrible, but my son and I were just swimming probably for about an hour or so in our pool, and I want to try and finish that book, the Dale Jr. book, because I think I have about 20 pages left. I want to dry off because hopefully the sun will stay out. It's been in and out, but I need to dry off anyway. So what better to listen to a little bit of music with the boombox and then also just sit down and read. So alright everybody, I have a little bit of exciting news. I did end up finishing the Dale Jr. book, and I have to say I really enjoyed it. I'm not gonna rate it just because the style of book it is. It's more of just like a memoir, trying to get some words out there to help people. That's how Dale Jr. decided to write this book. It was really unique to kind of read about some problems that he was having, because originally I just thought we were going to be reading about him racing from starting out to all the way up to retirement, and maybe a couple times like sharing some memories of racing with his father. I did not know it was going to be the way that the book took, where it was talking more about like illness and more about his concussions and stuff from original, like when I first picked it up. But I have to say I did not have a problem with this book. I really enjoyed it. I love how you can tell how technically humble and respectable Junior is. There are some things that still I want to watch his documentary, or is it like an Amazon Prime TV series, whatever that is. I want to watch that. And also, I mean, I've heard of his podcast and stuff, but this was just something that I really enjoyed reading, and I want to share with you a little quote. Josh is actually home, which is great, but way back when, I think it was when Dale Sr. actually won Daytona 500 in 1998, a lot of people lined up to shake Dale's hand and just congratulate him in a way. And during Junior's last race, right before retirement, he wanted to go through and shake everybody's hand, and this is what he put. He's like, when all those teams shook my father's hand in 1998, that was them showing him their respect. Nearly 2 decades later, this was me showing them my respect. That's how much I love how you can tell how humble he technically is, because it's like, oh, all these people wanted to, you know, just show respect to his father, but he wanted to turn around. This is his last race. He wanted to talk to everybody. He wanted to try and say hello to everybody, shake their hands and thank them, and just have a good last race day. So I really enjoyed this book. Like I said, I'm not gonna rate it just because it's like more of like a memoir, but I wanted to come on here and update and also tell you what book I will be starting. At least I get to cross this off my 25 books that I want to read in 2025. The next book I want to read is also for my 25 books in 2025 list, but this is a more wintry romance. It is a standalone, but I read one book from this author and I really enjoyed this, and I just want something that's like fast paced, hopefully no use of my brain for the most part, to kind of reset it after reading something that took me so long. Oh, this is upside down. After reading a book that took me like 5 minutes per page to read. So I'm actually going to pick up Forever Never by Lucy Score, and this will be the next book in this reading vlog. Hello everybody, I'm back with a little after pool update. I feel like like this is all I've been talking about so far in this video. Also, I feel like I haven't updated because yesterday I don't think I really updated, which I didn't get to a lot of reading. But I want to kind of update on Forever Never, my thoughts about almost 100 pages in, a little after 50. We are actually at chapter 10, which is page 78. And I just want to give a few of my thoughts. First off, I don't understand what it is with authors. Why can we not just have normal, regular, run-of-the-mill names? Brick Callan, okay, that's not that bad. I'm sorry, the main character's name is very bad in my opinion. What is her name? Remington Honeysuckle Ford. Ford is the only normal part of her name. Who names their kid? I know a lot of people name their kids Remington, but the combination Remington Honeysuckle, like I can't get over the name. I really hate it. Remy isn't that bad because at least that's all we're really reading is Remy, and it's not like the full thing, but it's just kind of one of those, like, why couldn't you just put the most basic name? Like, I don't know, Stacy, Charlotte even. I know they're overdone, but at the same time I feel like they're just more normal, and it's not like you already made a book and you don't know what to name your characters. You have a name generator and then you pick the most random names. I think my Sims can come up with better names randomly. No offense. I don't necessarily have a problem with the book, except for that I feel like I'm not really attached to the characters so far. I don't know if it's just more so the male main character, which I hate saying that because that's normally not how I am. I feel like I get into books very easily, but for whatever reason, maybe him just being a man of few words, which I enjoy. I don't have a problem with that in real life, but for whatever reason, when I'm reading about it, I'm kind of like, I don't know. There's some disconnection with both of the characters, both of them for some reason, and I have no clue what it is just yet. I'm hoping the farther I get into it, the more I'll be like, oh, I actually really enjoyed this book all of a sudden, and then I end up loving it at the end, especially since it's a 500, almost 600 page book. That's really all my thoughts. I don't really have anything too much to complain about. I don't mind the winter setting. I don't mind anything that I've read so far. I really have enjoyed, for the most part, this book. Like, getting into it, I feel like I'm still reading the first 10 to 20 pages of a book, which for me are one of those where I just say like, okay, don't think about it too much, just keep reading. It'll get better. Things will start to click. I feel like I'm still in that. It's not necessarily that things aren't clicking, it's more of the, like, I just don't have a feeling towards this book just yet. So that's my thoughts. I'm gonna sit and dry off a little bit and also read. I just wanted to come and update because I have not updated at all. Alright, I have a small little update on Forever Never. I've just read off and on a little bit today. It's now almost 5 p.m. Josh is on his way home, and I know we're gonna go out after he mows, and I'm gonna work on the front flower bed. We're gonna go to the fair tonight, so I'm not gonna read anymore. I made it all the way to chapter 15, which is page 132, 133. I'm starting to come around with the book. I feel like I'm getting more into it. I feel like I can see the story picking up. I see some problems with the book still, but for the most part, I feel like I'm getting just a little bit more into it as we go along, which is what I wanted, to be honest. I wanted to actually enjoy this book, and I definitely feel like I almost have that feeling of I need to pick up this book and read it, even though I have other stuff to do, if that makes sense, which is a really great feeling. But I've been in that feeling all month. I've just found really great books, and I also have just been wanting to be in a reading mood, and I feel like that's been helping a lot. But yeah, I feel like this is definitely coming around. I'm getting to the part where you kind of have your two main characters, the male and the female. The female gets a little bit drunk, and then the male takes her home, puts her to bed and stuff, like just like legitimately takes care of her, gentleman only type way. She basically is saying something, and he's kind of like, oh, what do you mean? This is the reason why you came back. She gets a phone call and he ends up answering it. That's the chapter I ended with. So I can see a little bit more of like a mystery suspense type, like a feeling coming around, but at the same time I see where this is going to be a problem, like a falling out probably problem, but more so just like a conflict later on because he answered a phone call. That's really all I have. That's my little thoughts. Like I said, we're gonna go to the fair tonight. So I'll see you the next time I talk to y'all. I wanted to kind of do a little update too, because I don't think I really talked about, besides the fact that I was slowly getting into this book a little bit more, I don't think I really talked about my feelings since that night when we went to the fair. And one thing I don't like is the whole dynamic, which I know it was on the back of the book. I don't know what I want to say. It's not a love triangle, but it's almost like this girl who knows a guy, but is also related to this guy and is dating this guy or wants to date this guy. And it's like they're siblings. I don't like that. Like if you're going to date a sibling, don't if you guys break up. Even if you guys were high school sweethearts, it does not matter. You do not date the other sibling. That's weird. In my personal opinion, that's really weird. And also, let's just say weird is the only thing I'm going to comment on about that because I don't want to ruffle some feathers, let's say, here on the internet. But yeah, I don't like that. I don't like how right now in Brick's point of view, when we're reading about like him with his brother who's sitting there, or his brother and Remy are out having fun or doing these things, he gets like very jealous and he's like, no, they already had their time together in school. They shouldn't even be together anymore. They should not be having fun. Or I hate how they could have a falling out, let's say, but then they're all like happy and best friends and blah blah blah. I don't like the jealousy. I really don't like character books like this, I guess I should say. I don't know if it's just this book in particular, but I don't think this one's going to be as highly rated. I know we still have a lot of the book left, like 300 pages or more, so I'm hoping that maybe it'll turn around, it'll pick up, but right now I'm feeling like a 3-star just because I am into it more than I was. Don't get me wrong, I am into it a lot more, but I just don't like some of the things that both of the characters do, and also the plot of why she was like scared of the dark and some other things. I know we're gonna get more information on it later, but right now I was like, oh, that's a little depressing, and like, really, you're gonna be scared of the dark of that? Not to be like rude, if you really have a serious thing, like a life thing that happened that's similar and you feel the same way, I'm not discrediting that. I'm just saying, like, for me reading a book, I was thinking it was gonna be like murder, somebody was out for murder for her, and I mean there is still a chance that that could be like a little side thing with that, but I read a lot of more intense books, I feel like, so it was just very underwhelming to find the reason why she had all these issues, why she was basically having like, not PTSD in a way, but like she was just scared of some things. I'm a little underwhelmed, I guess I should say, about that and feeling like that, but something that I feel like with especially romance books, I feel in general, when they have like a plot to them and it's building up, and then finally you get to whatever is their issue, like if they had a falling out, or in this case they're scared of something, like I feel like a lot of the times I am just let down a little bit because I'm so used to reading like thrillers and mysteries and even horror books, and then also on the other scale we have fantasy and sci-fi where it's so much more like high stakes or just drama and high like threat, that when we get to in a romance books and it's something stupid like I kissed you and we had a falling out because I said I didn't want to be more than friends and I ruined it for us and now we don't speak for 10 years, like something like that, like come on, that's ridiculous. That's just my personal opinion, but so far that's really all the problems that I'm having with this book. It's just like the like little things with both of the characters, and I don't know, I'm kind of discouraged because I thought I was gonna love this book, and I really love that it's wintertime. I wish it was wintertime a little bit right now. I'm not gonna lie. I am not a summer person. I do like summer because I get tanner and also because I get to go swim. That's about it. That's the only reasons why. And like car shows and drag strip, things that only happen during the summer, but otherwise I'm a big winter person. I love the snow. And so reading this book, I just want to be in the snow right now. Hello everybody, long time no see. Not so much for you guys, but more so for me. I think last time I updated it, I was around 172 pages. And I also think that that was on Sunday because Josh was home and we were doing things. As you guys know, which I think I stated in the beginning of this video, but I was on a week's long vacation from work. I just had some days. I had about 2 weeks and one of my weeks was for our anniversary. I just took off a whole week. With that being said, I was coming to the end of it on Sunday. I had a really bad day at work on Monday, my first day back to work, and I ended up basically just cracking my knee, all of my weight straight onto my left knee onto some steel, like it cracked against some steel. Bad enough that I actually had to be sent from work to the ER. And also I have been home since Monday. It has been one of the hardest probably weeks that I've been off. It is technically Friday. I'm going back to work today, but it's been a few days, like 4 days or so. And it has been so hard for me because even if I'm off, like the only time I really relax is when I sleep or when I sit down to eat. That's pretty much the only time I'm not doing stuff. In this video, I've kind of dedicated a few like bits and pieces. Like when I'm swimming, I'm reading, or if I'm doing stuff, I'll try and read, or I'll try and sit down and read. But for the most part, I have to be doing something even when I'm reading. Like I have a really bad problem where I feel like, you know, if it's daylight especially, there's so much stuff that needs to to be done, and I have a hard time just sitting. And so with this being a knee injury and me not being able to actually get up and do a bunch of things, especially in the beginning, it was so hard to just sit around all day. And I did do a lot of reading, but then there were some times where I was like, screw this, like I don't care how bad I hurt, I don't care if it's swollen, I don't care what it looks like, I'm getting up, I'm doing the dishes, I'm gonna go do laundry, I'm gonna go do this while Josh is at work. And he did do half days and came home and helped me and some other things with the house, and we worked on some things. But there was, I think my really best day was we went down to the bridge to actually clean it out, because from a couple floods ago there was a tree that was stuck underneath it, and we got that out. And last night, of course, every time we clean out our bridge, the next day it floods again. And last night we had flash flooding so bad that I can import some photos, but we have more debris on our bridge. Josh barely got to work this morning, like it was up in the air because we didn't even have electricity last night. So everything was shut off. Our house normally, because we've had such a heat wave, heat advisory, our house set at 74 for AC. It's normally at the end of the day around 80, but it's cool air and it's air movement throughout the house. So it doesn't feel too bad, especially when you walk outside and it's over 90 something degrees, but the real feels like 104 with humidity. So it's like, it doesn't feel that bad. However, with the electric went out, it went to over 80 degrees that we know of. But that's not so much the problem. It's more because since we had thunderstorms and stuff, it was so humid here. And also on top of that, it was still, there was no air movement at all throughout the house. So it got very hot, and I was trying to read a lot, and I got till 20 pages until we finished the book. I got to 530 out of pretty much almost 550 or so. Actually, I think with the bonus epilogue that I have, it's 567 maybe. So about 30 pages away from finishing this book. I'm right to the point where, let's just say there's a fire and somebody realizes that maybe he shouldn't be at the fire. That's the literal point that I was like, you know what? I just am too hot. There's no air in this house, like no movement. And on top of it, it was kind of like, I think it was midnight. It wasn't too late, but I was just ready to go to bed. So I decided to stop, and that's where we're gonna pick up and finish this book. But yeah, it's just been a crazy week. You know, I've been injured, bored out of my mind, reading this book, thankfully. Like I did finish it, and I do want to pick up another book after this, and it's gonna be like a short little kid's book in a way. But yeah, the floods yesterday with everything going on, I know we have a big day, maybe not today, because it's going to apparently thunderstorm until maybe Monday, Tuesday. No matter what, we need the current to go down, we need the creek to go down, so that we can also get in there and clean that out before it does thunderstorm and probably flash floods again. That way we don't have a lot of problems with our bridge. We like to actually try and keep up with our bridge, but if the current's up too much, I'm not standing in there, because especially with a hurt knee, I will get swept away and I'll probably end up drowning. And that's just a realistic side of it. We could maybe stick the tractor in the water and hook a chain around it. That's the big problem, is trying to get out, be in it, hook the chain around a tree underneath the bridge, and then pull it out with the tractor. I don't know what the plan is today besides me going to work. I feel much better. I don't think you guys really care that much, but I guess we have like fluid around our knee, and when I hit it, the impact was so much that it pushed all of that fluid up above my kneecap and up above like my knee. If you're looking like from toes up to your hip, it was up above my knee, and it was just a big bulge, like a big goose egg. Apparently it was like a big balloon that filled with fluid, I guess, and it swelled really bad the next day. It's gone down. I did have my skin bust open for how much pressure, but it was just like the tiniest little scrape. It's maybe like my fingertip little hole in my knee, which that is where all my pain is. Apparently that bit of skin hurts more than if somebody hits the bruises and stuff, and even when it was swelled, it hurts more than when you would hit a little bit of that swelling. So finally, which this is what I was hoping, but for early on, because I was thinking like, oh, when it starts to color, you know, I'll be on the up and up. That's what I was hoping. And finally, just now, from last night to today, because I've had it wrapped pretty much this entire time, I'm finally just now starting to get color in my knee. It's a little bit green and yellow, and then on other spots it's got a lot of black, but it's like the entire upper part of my knee. I don't know, I'm gonna have a pretty decent bruise. Yeah, I do not recommend knee injuries to anybody. I've never had problems necessarily with my knees, and this, I thought I was gonna bounce back like I do pretty much every other time I get hurt. Like when I smashed my fingers, if you guys noticed in my other clips, I smashed my fingers at work so bad that I actually don't have really good feeling in my fingertips, and my nails were black. My fingertips themselves on this side, they were actually black for a long while. Dealing with that, the next day, as much as it hurt because they swelled and they didn't really bend at the fingertips up here, I continued every single day to progress. And then I think it was like 2 weeks afterwards, I started getting the black on my nail, that it started growing out, and it stayed. And I just now have the last of it on my fingertip, that when I cut my nails, it's gonna be gone. I do a pretty decent job at bouncing back, but this one I didn't bounce back as fast as I thought I would. And apparently that's really common with knee injuries, but it's just one of those knows that. I got really bummed. I definitely felt like I just didn't want to read. I didn't want to sit around any more than I had to, and I felt like I had to sit all day for every single day that I was out. Enough rambling about me because I feel like y'all don't really care. I'm gonna sit, I'm gonna finish this book, and then I'll give you my final thoughts and my ratings. I kind of went back and forth on some of my ratings. I also don't feel like the first half was that bad, but the middle section to maybe like 75% I just didn't like as much, and then or I didn't know how to feel about. And now the ending, because we're like high stakes things are happening, I'm feeling really intrigued, and right now I'm really much enjoying that. But I don't know what to rate this book just now. I might read a couple reviews and give my thoughts later on that for sure. Well, I finished Forever Never. I'm very glad that I accomplished this since this was all my 25 books. I want to read it in 2025. However, I have no clue if I want to rate this a 2 stars, a 3 stars. I feel like definitely a 2 to a 3 are probably the only star ratings that I would rate this book. I don't know. There were some things that I really didn't like about it. Like, I just wasn't invested in the characters. For a while, it was hard for me to get into the characters, like even care about them at all. And then I felt like there was the whole back and forth scenes that really annoyed me. The constant getting real close to like being friends, being more than friends, and then backing away, and then getting close again and then backing away, and then getting close again and running away. And it was both of the characters, more so the male than the female. But then also I just wasn't a big fan of some of the things that went on. Also, I feel like this book compared to The Rock Bottom Girl had so many mature, explicit type scenes that I was skipping pages. I don't normally skip a lot of pages in books, but when it comes to this stuff, especially like the one time I took it at work and I decided I could not read this at work at all, I was skipping pages. And also I feel like I skipped a lot of information because there were things that happened during those scenes I had no knowledge about unless I went back and found what was going on, because I was confused on when I would continue reading. All of a sudden they would say something, I'm like, when did that happen? Yeah, it's in the scenes that I've been skipping, or in the things that I didn't want to necessarily read about. Also, because I had to go in and like get a few, I think twice, there were 2 different things, one towards the very end and then one towards like maybe like 75%. There were 2 different things that happened during those scenes that I went back and read. I feel like this book was very focused on that part, not so much the plot. Like, there was a good little plot that could have been really great about like the, I can't spoil anything, but like the reason she came back to the island, and then the thing that happens at the very end. But it touched on it in the beginning, not so much in the middle, and then definitely of course at the end. And it was resolved a little quickly, and I enjoy having like high stakes also drawn out. I enjoy like having a lot of pages, a lot of chapters of like resolving the conflict, let's just say, not just like 5 pages of a chapter, which I mean, it wasn't bad. I've definitely read books worse where when they resolve the conflict, it's not as good as that. So I'll give her a little bit credit there for being like a romance writer, having a little bit of conflict when it comes to like not your normal like, oh, they bicker, they fight, like something like this. It was done okay. I'm not gonna say it was the best. It's definitely not something I read that's the best. I'll give her a little bit for that. The arrest epilogue wasn't so bad. See, there was parts in that, but the first epilogue, let's just say, why did it turn like that? Like, that's the part of like, there's too many scenes. Can we just chill out just a little bit, okay? There's more to life than just that. There's more to relationships than just that. I really don't know what to think, to be honest. So I'm gonna sit on this for a little bit. I probably won't update in this vlog, but I'll put it down on my Goodreads and then on Fable, and I'll put down my review on there and also my rating. I gotta think on this a little bit more. With me finishing that book, I want to hop into another one. Maybe not right away, but like here in the next day or two. I would like to finish this before we move on to the next month, to July, which we are on the 27th right now of June. So I just have a few days to finish this book, and that's one reason I decided to pick it up. It's just over 200 pages, so I should be able to finish it. The Black Stallion and Flame. This is on my 25 list. I want to read in 2025 as well. This is what my TBR was. All my books for my TBR this month were from that list, so that's why you get a lot of this. But I'm hoping that I can read this, especially with its pictures. It's a little kid book. This is one of those that I just want to read because it's on my shelf. It's an older book. I just want to have the majority of my books on my shelves read at all times, and I'm just trying to tackle more of my physical TBR. So even though it's not something that I would normally pick up, it's still something that I definitely want to tackle. But this will be the next book, and maybe the last book, depending, because I probably will finish this vlog out at the end of the month. Hello everybody, it's been a couple days. I want to update you actually on the Black Stallion and Flame. I did finish this. It took me about 3 days to finish just because I just wasn't really reading it on that second day. I kind of read like 20 pages and then the last day, I think I read about 120 give or take. I read about half the book at the very final day because I was like, oh, it's the final day of June. I need to finish this book. I do not want to finish it in July. So I did sit and finish this book and I have to say I really enjoyed it. This was one of those books that I think if you read all 14 books up to this book, because this is number 15 apparently in a series and I did not know that until I was looking at the reviews. This book is apparently very underwhelming compared to the first, I'd say at least 5 to 10 books. There was one review on, I think it was Goodreads, that said, I think that the author just basically is giving up at this point, this far into the series, and I guess there's only like 2 more or 5 more books left in the series. I think it's a 20 book series, 17 or 20. I guess he was just not providing as good of books and good as like plots and stuff like that as the first couple. I actually really enjoyed this for not reading the rest of the series and reading this as like a standalone. I really enjoyed this book. I mean, it was a kid's book, so I'm going to rate it a little lower just because it's not something I would normally read, but since it was on my shelves and I never tackled it and it was on my 25 books I want to read in 2025, it was just like a perfect cleanser in a way. And I did actually end up rating this 3.5 stars. Like I said, it's not necessarily really low. I normally like to stay at the lowest around 3 stars, but since it's a little bit more kiddie-ish, I'm gonna rate it a little lower. I think if I was in middle school for sure, this would probably be like a 4.5, 5-star book. This was pretty decent. It was a story more about a boy and his horse getting separated from a plane crash and then finding each other again later on. There are side plots, like you have a random vampire bat. You have technically Flame that he meets, even though this book is titled Flame. I feel like you don't really get much about Flame. You have some other like little side things, but for the most part, that's all you get. It's 213 pages, give or take, so you don't get too much, which I do agree with some of the reviews. It was kind of like, not necessarily rushed, but since it's such short pages, you're getting a lot of stuff in those 200 pages. So it's a little bit random or like thrown in there, but I actually really enjoyed this for what it was, and I'm glad I tackled it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm glad I tackled it. I want to go over each book and just kind of give my thoughts and ratings. You already know what I rated The Black Stallion and Flame. You already know my thoughts for the most part on this book, on Dale Jr., and how I'm not going to rate it just because it's a memoir. I just kind of want to do like a recap, like a fast recap. I really enjoyed this. It was not what I expected, but for it not being what I expected, I still really enjoyed this and it was very interesting. And then of course, you kind of know some of my thoughts on Forever Never, how I was a little bit conflicted about my rating. I ended up rating this only 2.5 stars. All those scenes kind of drug down the rating. I didn't want to rate it below 3 stars, but I just really struggled and I was very conflicted, and I just came upon the rating 2.5 stars. I feel like that's really good for how I felt during this book. It definitely missed for me. I hope it doesn't necessarily miss for you. I hope you enjoy it, and if this is one of your favorite books from her, then I'm so sorry. It didn't connect for me, and it also made reading this book a lot better, I feel like, because like I said, it was like a cleanser in a way. So I was coming out of this where I just didn't know what I wanted to read, and I was very unsure hopping into this book if I was even going to like this book because of this book, if that makes sense. So I'm glad that at least in this video, in this reading vlog, I got at least 3 books tackled. I'm glad for the most part I enjoyed them. All of them were on my 25 books I want to read in 2025, so I have another 3 crossed off that list, and I don't know, this was a very decent reading vlog in my opinion. I had a week off for vacation, and then immediately after I got injured my first day back to work, and I had another week down because of that, which with that one struggled. I struggled a lot on that. I couldn't even read. I was so bored. It was so hard to just stay down, and I'm still kind of injured. I'm not going to work, and it's now officially week 2, almost the end of week 2. We're going on week 3 next week, and I don't know. I can't do it. It's been such a struggle. At least I'm reading a little bit more. I'm also so bored that I don't necessarily want to read more, which is really not fun. Thank you all so much for watching this reading vlog. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Be sure to stay tuned for any upcoming videos here on my channel, and as always, God bless.